Fallout 4 is the game that everyone loves to hate online, but then secretly play when no one is watching. But I'm tired of pretending that Fallout 4 isn't a great game. So today, I'll be white knighting for Fallout 4. Todd Howard, my liege, I'm here to defend the honor of your masterpiece, King.
All of this just works. I'm not kidding.
All jokes aside, I do find the discourse around Fallout 4 to be fascinating. Lots of people seem to despise it, and yet it remains by far the most popular Fallout game ever made.
Okie dokie.
Following the release of the Amazon Fallout TV show in 2024, the franchise got a huge influx of new and returning players. But some games in the series blew up more than others, with Fallout 4 and 76 being the biggest beneficiaries. Fallout 4 even cracked the top 10 most played games on Steam, with over 100,000 concurrent players at its peak. New Vegas was a distant third, and Fallout 1, 2, and 3 barely saw a bump at all. Now, bigger number, better game isn't a good argument, but if one game in the series is statistically more appealing than all of the rest, you've got to ask yourself why that is. And that's what this video will seek to answer. If Fallout 4 is such a bad game, then why has it managed to remain so relevant even 10 years after release? What is it about this game that has players sinking hundreds or even thousands of hours into the experience? Well, let's find out together. So without further ado, let's buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and dive into this retrospective of Fallout 4. Something about Fallout 4 just activates nostalgia for me. And speaking of nostalgia, I gotta tell you about an exciting video game collaboration featuring the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, one of my favorite cartoons from back when I was a wee lad. This collaboration unlocked childhood memories of me sitting on the couch with a bowl of cereal, watching Michelangelo and the crew fight crime on the streets of New York. Raid Shadow Legends is partnering with Paramount to bring your favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to life inside the game. I can finally live out my longtime dream of playing as Donatello, slaying monsters and protecting the world from baddies. Right now you can collect Leonardo, Raphael, April, Shredder, and even Michelangelo, who you can get for free. What I like most about Raid is the variety of different game modes and the sense of progression that you get from tackling challenging content. It's fun for me to build up different units and test out new combat strategies to overcome bosses in the Doom Tower, or team up with other players to take down the Demon Lord. And now is the perfect time to join me in Raid. Click on my link in the description or scan the QR code to start playing Raid right now and get a bunch of sweet anniversary bonuses only available through my link. You instantly get a big starter pack with the legendary champion Corrado, an extremely strong nuker who can eviscerate foes with his AoE abilities. You also get 3 epic champions, the buffer Yugo, the tank Vergis, and the magic support Tagore as you progress to account levels 10, 20, and 30. I've also got some special promo codes when you download Raid through my link. New players can choose one of the 4 promo codes on screen to pick a free legendary champion. I personally recommend Alice the Wanderer because her design is peak. And from now until October 30th, you'll get the legendary Ninja Turtle Michelangelo for free by logging into the game for 7 days. Once you're crushing it in-game, come join my clan Rogue Nations and let's take out the demon boss together. One of the things that has always amused me about the online discussions surrounding Fallout 4 is how this game is treated in comparison to Fallout New Vegas. Now personally, I'm a huge fan of Fallout New Vegas. It's my favorite Fallout game in the series, and I agree that it is a better overall game and better overall RPG than Fallout 4. But it's also got its own share of flaws. However, you'd never guess that if your only exposure to New Vegas were YouTube commentary videos or Reddit posts. When it comes to discussions about Fallout New Vegas, its strengths are emphasized and endlessly praised, like it's the Jesus Christ of RPGs. But on the other hand, the game's weaknesses and flaws are either completely overlooked or hand-waved away. Things like insane technical instability, lackluster combat, and a visual style so similar to piss that Bear Grylls tried to drink it. These things are not often mentioned when discussing New Vegas, because the core role-playing experience and writing in New Vegas are so good, players are willing to overlook its less savory parts. But when it comes to Fallout 4, the complete opposite is true. The discussion is hyper-fixated on everything Bethesda did wrong. Flaws are picked apart like ghouls devouring a carcass. Meanwhile, the core strengths of the game are either completely diminished or outright ignored.
Eddie,
It's me, your old pal, Seamus McFuck yourself.
A perfect example of this is Adam Something's critique of Fallout 4. My biggest issue with this video is that it focuses exclusively on the writing and completely ignores almost all aspects of gameplay. He does bring up some valid criticism about the plot holes and missed opportunities in the story, but he completely glosses over or ignores other important aspects of gameplay, which coincidentally are the things the game does well. In this hour-long critique of Fallout 4, he doesn't once mention the combat or other standout things like the Far Harbor DLC. Exploration, combat, and enjoyable quests are the core strengths of Fallout 4. Writing and dialogue are its Achilles heel. New Vegas is a superior game in terms of writing and role-playing, and yet I can't deny that I simply have more fun playing Fallout 4, and my playtime with each of these games reflects that. Fallout 4 is far from a perfect game, but it's also much better than its loudest critics give it credit for. So let's dive a bit deeper and answer the question: what is the core appeal of Fallout 4? So if the writing and role-playing in Fallout 4 are lackluster, what is it about this game that's so goddamn fun? To me, it is the core gameplay loop of exploring, looting, shooting, and questing. It's easy to pick apart Fallout 4's bad writing, dodgy dialogue wheel, lack of a silent protagonist, and Preston Garvey's incessant pestering about another settlement that needs our help. But are we really going to pretend that the core gameplay loop is not important at all? Fallout 4 has hands down the best combat in the entire series. A lot of the clunkiness from Fallout 3 and New Vegas has been ironed out, weapon variety and combat animations have improved, and enemy AI is much better. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, if an enemy aggroed, in many cases they would just stand in place and trade bullets with you, with no regard for taking cover or preserving their own lives. In Fallout 4, most enemies now generally try to flank, take cover, and are overall smarter than their predecessors. Feral ghouls will even lie down and play dead, leading to some surprising ambushes if you're not paying attention. Fallout 4 also removed the RPG RNG of gunplay. In previous games, your weapon skill had a direct impact on your accuracy, leading to situations where you could have your crosshair perfectly trained on an enemy and still miss. Morrowind bros know the struggle all too well. Fallout 4 replaces this roll of the dice mechanic for real-time gunplay. If you aim accurately, you will hit your target, making player skill a more dominant factor. Fallout 4 also added the ability to sprint, which was surprisingly absent in Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Plus, overhauls to consumable items like Jet, which now slows down time, add more dynamic and fun ways to eviscerate your enemies. In Fallout 1 and 2, the combat is dreadfully clunky and boring. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, the combat is tolerable but clearly not the main appeal. For me, Fallout 4 is the first game in the series where I legit boot the game up and enjoy the combat. Exploration is also a key gameplay component that makes Fallout 4 really fun to play. That incredible sense of freedom you get when you're wandering the wasteland in search of loot, quests, and interesting encounters is something that Bethesda has always done extremely well, and Fallout 4 is no exception in this regard. On top of this, there are a lot of very fun quests to enjoy in this game. And while the choice and consequence aspect leaves something to be desired, especially when compared to Fallout New Vegas, there is still enough player agency in this game to make different playthroughs feel unique and interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, storytelling and writing are really important aspects of a good RPG, and Fallout 4 would be a much better game if the main story actually had good writing. But for me, story is always going to take a back seat to that core gameplay loop. Ideally, the best games will be good at both, but Fallout 4's gameplay is so satisfying for me that I don't really give a about the weak writing in the main quest. On top of this, there is some genuinely good writing in other parts of the game, particularly companion quests, side quests, and the Far Harbor DLC, all of which we'll explore in depth later in this video. But for now, let's dive deeper on each aspect of the core gameplay loop, starting with combat. At the beginning of our journey into post-apocalyptic Boston, we'll customize our protagonist, John Fallout. The character creator in Fallout 4 is actually pretty good, with an intuitive UI allowing us to hone in on changes to individual body parts and features in an easy-to-understand way. Sure, the character models still look pretty bad. This is Bethesda's creation engine after all, but I've had fun creating imitations of such characters as Rick Ross and Jack from Mass Effect 2. You can even make a 400-pound main character who surprisingly still has a six-pack. Maybe it's one of those painted-on abs situations. Fallout 4 overhauled how character building works compared to past Fallout games. No longer do we get an allocation of skill points to invest into things like repair, small guns, sneak, etc. Instead, we get perk points that we can invest into a variety of different perks distributed in each of the overall special attributes categories. We can even put these perk points into our special stats, meaning we can potentially max out everything in a single playthrough, considering there is also no level cap, unlike previous entries in the series. This approach to character building is a double-edged sword, though. On one hand, we now have more flexibility in how we build our character. On the other hand, our build choices don't seem to matter as much, as we can effectively get good at almost everything. Though practically there isn't enough content in the game to max out everything in the perk tree, unless you want to grind out a bunch of repeatable Radiant quests, which I certainly don't want to do. I feel the total replacement of skills with perks in Fallout 4 was ultimately a bad thing. There are very few skill checks in conversation or gameplay anymore, aside from the odd persuasion check, which is based on your charisma attribute.
Ricky, you ready to be a hero? Someone they'll sing songs about?
Off the top of my head, the only skill checks I can remember that impacted quest gameplay were speeding up the repairs of the USS Constitution and using the Robotics Expert perk to hack the Protectrons in Dry Rock Gulch during the Nuka World DLC. While there are still strengths and weaknesses for how you build your character, there is a certain element of role-playing and gameplay that's been tragically lost in this new system. VATS, aka the Vault-Tec Assisted Targeting System, also received an overhaul. Now, instead of completely pausing the action, it slows down time instead, allowing you to target individual body parts. You can also unleash critical hits on command for extra damage whenever you've filled up your crit meter. I've already touched on some of the improvements to combat, so I won't repeat those points here, but the combat in Fallout 4 is a dramatic improvement over Fallout 3 and New Vegas. There is also a ton of weapon variety, both for melee weapons and guns, which makes experimenting with different playstyles immensely satisfying. Laser rifles, flamethrowers, shotguns, revolvers, gigantic axes, nuclear launchers, flaming swords, Fallout 4's got everything you need to vanquish your foes all across the wasteland. Power armor also got a fresh coat of paint in Fallout 4. These iconic armor sets have now been transformed into fully customizable mech suits, complete with swappable components, personalized paint jobs, and an upgrade path. And unlike past Fallout games, you now get access to power armor much earlier in the game, bypassing the need to receive specialized training to use this equipment. This move definitely triggered a lot of lore buffs. One of my personal favorite self-directed side activities in Fallout 4 is collecting power armor sets and putting them on display at my home base in Sanctuary Hills. So even though I tend to prefer gameplay without power armor, as I feel they make exploration too slow and clunky, I still like collecting the suits as a fun activity in and of itself, which brings me to my next point, the joy of exploration in Fallout 4. One of my favorite aspects of Fallout 4 is exploring the wasteland. It's so relaxing to just sling a shotgun over my shoulder, turn on the radio, and venture out into the Commonwealth in search of cool locations, new quests, and loot. What is it that makes exploration rewarding in Fallout 4? It's the joy of discovering interesting locations, fun new quests, environmental storytelling, and mysteries to uncover, as well as useful loot to upgrade our settlements or weaponry. But even more than that, Bethesda does an incredible job of providing that feeling that you can go anywhere and do anything. And while you might not literally be able to do anything, that promise of exploration is immensely powerful. Whenever I see that little undiscovered map marker on my radar, I feel pulled towards it, wondering what I will discover, and getting that satisfying dopamine hit whenever I hear that little location discovered notification and get that sweet XP boost.
Don't forget Boston Blaster. He's pulled this out.
Most cool locations in the Commonwealth will provide at least something of note. Sometimes it's unique loot, a new quest, or an unexpected ambush by a Mirelurk queen. Unlike many modern open-world games, Bethesda doesn't plaster exclamation points over the heads of quest givers, and some missions are pretty far off the beaten path. Mystery Meat is an interesting story that is easy to miss if you're not shuffling around the open world in search of new locations. It's about a guy who runs a meat-packing cannery whose business has fallen on hard times, and it turns out the guy has been using dead ghoul meat to mix into his product to meet the market demand for his clients. And once you discover his terrible secret, he becomes hostile, forcing you to kill him. But if you're a bit creative, for instance by shooting him with a pacifying dart or using the intimidation perk, you can actually calm him down and have the option to cut a deal with the guy instead.
Whoa, whoa! Hey, look, it doesn't have to be this way. Look, we can run this place together. You look the other way and I'll give you a cut of the profits.
So you can feed people ghoul meat?
Hey, ghouls are no different than any other dumb animal. They're an untapped food source. What do you say? I mean, you help keep this quiet, I run the cannery, we both make a fortune.
Fine, but don't cross me again.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna kill me for sure. Woo, here's your cut. I'll get this place cleaned up and I'll even give you a discount on the meat.
Exploring outside of Diamond City can also lead you to Vault 81, which has a whole slew of side quests and a new companion to discover. Dunwich Borers is a creepy mining quarry that you can stumble upon, which has a horror-fueled backstory tying into some deep-cut lore from previous entries. I highly recommend checking out Epic Nate's videos on the Dunwich Borers if you want to explore that lore further. These are just a handful of examples of the cool things you can discover out in the Commonwealth, and I personally find open-ended exploration in Fallout 4 satisfying on its own. Fallout 4 is also a loot goblin's dream game. Bethesda overhauled many key UI elements to improve the process of looting and inventory management. In past games, whenever you wanted to loot an enemy or chest, you'd have to interact with them, open up a separate menu, select the things you wanted to loot, and then exit the menu. Now you can simply access the loot menu by pointing your cursor at the chest or body without needing to open up a separate menu. This simple UI change dramatically speeds up the process of looting, which is something you'll be doing a lot of in this game. Exchanging gear with Pack Mule companions now requires less menu interactions as well. You can also deposit all junk items in the click of a button, making it super fast to clean out your inventory and make way for more loot. And if you take the local leader perk, you can connect all your settlement workshops, meaning you can access your entire stored inventory from any connected workshop. This means less loading screens and less friction to access your gear, so you can get back to the real important thing, playing the damn game. Inventory management can be such a pain in the ass in RPGs, so these UI considerations are a godsend. But it's the type of thing that players typically take for granted, because we really only notice UI elements whenever they get in our way. You know the saying, good UI is invisible, and as such, Fallout 4's UI improvements are underappreciated. On top of all of this, all loot, including junk, has some utility in Fallout 4. Past Fallout games have always had a plethora of junk items. You could even loot literal piles of dirt in Fallout 1, but a lot of this stuff was just there for flavor, items that just contributed to the vibe of a post-apocalyptic wasteland abandoned in the aftermath of a nuclear war. And some of these items had no actual gameplay utility. But with the introduction of the settlement system, all junk can be converted into some type of crafting material that we can use to construct new buildings and stations. This also speeds up the looting process, as we don't need to spend as much time considering whether a piece of junk is worth picking up. We can just take everything we can possibly carry and dump it off at our workshop once our inventory fills up, knowing that all those items can serve some purpose for us. On top of this, through exploration, we can also find gear that makes our character stronger, such as bobbleheads, perk magazines, and unique weapons. If you're not constantly fast traveling, you can also stumble upon some funny random encounters which are triggered while you're exploring the world. My personal favorite is the Southie Grifter, who sells you a charge card.
I knew you'd be back. You want that charge card now?
And this isn't some kind of scam.
I can't believe you just asked me that. What, I'm a charlatan? You think I got this far in life by ripping people off? I'm an entrepreneur. This is as real as it gets.
Sounds good. I'll take one.
Awesome. I'll take your money, and you get the charge card. Great doing business with you. Tell your friends, Parker Quinn, same corner every day. Retard.
I ain't no retard, amigo.
Hilariously, you can actually redeem this charge card with the Merchant Brooks in Far Harbor, so I guess it wasn't a complete scam after all.
Hey, this is a long shot, but, do you accept this charge card?
Huh? Oh yeah, that thing. Sure do. It'll be easier if I just cash you out. Looks like, what, 100 caps? Here you go.
Out of all the games in this franchise, there is none whose world I enjoy exploring more than the Commonwealth in Fallout 4, whereas patrolling the Mojave kinda makes me wish for a nuclear winter. Just kidding, I do like exploration in New Vegas as well, just not as much as Fallout 4. But now, let's take a closer look at questing and choices in Fallout 4. Choice and consequence in Fallout 4 is a mixed bag to say the least. On the one hand, there are a lot of fun and memorable quests in this game, like reconstructing an old warship and launching it into the skies, or role-playing as a bygone radio superhero. But on the other hand, there are not a ton of ways to express narrative choice in this game when compared to other games in the series. The biggest expression of player choice in Fallout 4 is which faction you side with in the main story. As you search for your son, you'll also get introduced to the main factions vying for power in the Commonwealth, the Minutemen, Brotherhood of Steel, Railroad, and the Institute. This faction struggle shares a lot of parallels with the main story in Fallout New Vegas, which likely provided the blueprint for Fallout 4. But for some reason, people just don't gravitate towards Fallout 4's factions in the same way they do for the NCR, Caesar's Legion, Yes Man, and Mr. House. Again, I think writing quality has a lot to do with this. Many of these factions are mutually exclusive. Allying with one will inevitably turn one or more major factions hostile against you. You even have the option to destroy any of the major factions on sight, well, except for the Minutemen, which is kind of annoying because it would be really satisfying to finally put an end to Preston's incessant ramblings about another settlement that needs our help. We can kinda go against them in the Nuka World DLC by toppling over settlements and converting them into raider outposts, but Preston and his gang still remain immortal unless you have mods. New Vegas, on the other hand, allowed the player to kill literally any NPC in the game, including quest givers and major players in the main story. This is something that used to be possible in past Bethesda games like Morrowind, but over the years, the devs have leaned more and more into having invincible NPCs. There are still a lot of characters you can wipe out in Fallout 4, but there are also enough immortal characters that break the immersion of the game. I have very mixed feelings about Bethesda's approach to choice and consequence in Fallout 4. On the one hand, there are quite a few quests that offer us a significant choice. Some examples are Human Error, Last Voyage of the USS Constitution, and The Secret of Cabot House, to name a few. But so many of the quests in this game just railroad you into a single outcome, which is insanely frustrating for a supposed RPG. One of the best examples that exposes the deficiencies of player agency in Fallout 4 is how we deal with Kellogg in the main story versus our options for dealing with Benny in Fallout New Vegas. At the start of New Vegas, we are shot in the head by Benny and tossed into a grave outside of Goodsprings.
Whoa, easy there, easy.
The first part of our journey involves tracking down our killer and confronting him on the New Vegas Strip. But once we arrive, there are a myriad of different ways to deal with the situation. We can sneak guns into the casino and mount a surprise attack on the first floor. We can collect evidence and convince the doorman to send Benny up to his suite, allowing us to get the drop on him. We can cut a deal with Benny, and if we're playing as a female character, we can even sleep with Benny, providing another opportunity to kill or spare him. If Benny escapes, he'll get captured by Caesar's troops, providing us more ways to either kill him or try and save him. The beauty in this quest is that we are given a ton of different ways to roleplay and find a solution to this confrontation. At the beginning of Fallout 4, Kellogg shoots our spouse and kidnaps our son for the Institute. The first part of the story involves tracking down Kellogg and confronting him at Fort Hagen. But when we finally meet Kellogg face to face, our only option is to kill him.
But I think we've been talking long enough. We both know how this has to end.
If we speak to him first, all dialogue options lead to combat.
In 100 years, when I finally die, I only hope I go to hell, so I can kill you all over again, you piece of shit.
There are no different ways to deal with this situation. Role-playing options are stifled in service of the linear narrative Bethesda is trying to tell here, because the next main quest involves delving into Kellogg's memories through his cybernetic implant that we pull out of his head. As someone who thoroughly enjoys the choice and consequence aspect of RPGs, Fallout 4 certainly leaves a lot to be desired in this department, but just know that things do improve somewhat when we get into the Far Harbor DLC later in this video. But to pretend there are no choices we can make in Fallout 4 would be an oversimplification.
Don't sell me to this guy.
I'll give you 200 caps right now.
Sold. Kid, I found you a new home.
Come on, kid. I got some holes that need digging.
You son of a bitch! I'll get you for this!
Let's take the Brotherhood quest, Duty or Dishonor, for example. We are tasked with locating the culprit behind missing supplies in the Brotherhood of Steel, and we eventually discover that a low-ranking member named Clark was stealing food to hand off to a pack of feral ghouls holed away in an abandoned part of the airport. The guy had a hard time coming to grips with the fact that feral ghouls used to be humans and wondered if there was something still human about them deep down. This runs counter to the Brotherhood's position that all ferals must be exterminated, so naturally he will face serious consequences for his actions. At the end of the quest, we can either convince him to run away, turn himself in, or kill him. Also, if we try to kill the ghouls, he will immediately become hostile. I like this quest not only because the different choices we can make, but also because of how it makes us confront the Brotherhood's ideology. Another one of my favorite quests is the Secret of Cabot House, where we do some work for a pre-war family that is being kept alive by an alien artifact. The family patriarch, Lorenzo, discovered an ancient alien civilization in the late 19th century and eventually gained immortality through wearing a mysterious crown scavenged from the site. But the crown also drove him to violent thoughts and mental instability, causing his children to institutionalize him before the Great War. But they didn't just put him in an asylum, they also harvested Lorenzo's blood to create a serum that granted the other family members immortality as well. At the end of the quest, we can either kill Lorenzo or free him and allow him to take revenge on his family.
You have all betrayed me, kept me a prisoner, and fed off me like vampires to prolong your pathetic, worthless lives. That is now over. Your time is up.
If we give Mama Murphy drugs, she will give us prophetic visions. The contents of these visions will depend on where we are in the main story, and in some cases her advice can actually have an impact on gameplay. For instance, she can point us to the location of Kellogg's house keys, allowing us easy access to search his residence before tracking him to Fort Hagen. And most impressively, she can even give us the recall code for the Courser, allowing us to skip that boss fight entirely.
He says Z247, initialize factory reset, authorization code Zeta 53 Kilo. And then he falls, and he's still.
Are you here for the synth?
Z247, initialize factory reset, authorization code Zeta 53 Kilo.
How did you?
But as with everything in Fallout 4, the Achilles heel for all of this is the writing. So let's dive deeper and analyze the writing quality.
See this bar? I killed a man for it. No, I kid. He is dead though.
So how bad is the writing in Fallout 4? At this point, talking about the dreadful writing in this game is like beating a fat horse.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The writing is bad, plain and simple. So rather than rehashing all of the failures of Fallout 4's main story, let's talk about the side content instead. Is all of that poorly written as well? Outside of the main story, there are some flashes of brilliant writing in Fallout 4. The first standout moment that comes to mind is Paladin Dance's quest Blind Betrayal, which you can encounter during the Brotherhood of Steel questline. The Brotherhood of Steel is a militaristic faction hell-bent on eliminating all manner of synths, ghouls, and other abominations born of the Great War of 2077. Our companion Paladin Dance is a die-hard member of the Brotherhood of Steel, whose commitment to the cause is clear with every conversation we have with the dude. The only problem is it turns out that Paladin Dance is actually a synth, unbeknownst to him or the rest of the Brotherhood. But once his true nature is revealed, Dance fled the Brotherhood, knowing that his homies would cut down his clanker ass. Elder Maxon orders the sole survivor to locate and eliminate Paladin Dance, leading to this amazing scene at the end of the quest.
How dare you betray the Brotherhood?
It's not his fault. It's mine.
I'll deal with you in a moment. Knight, why has this thing not been destroyed?
He's not a thing. He's one of your best men.
Have you taken leave of your senses? Dance isn't a man. It's a machine. An automaton created by the Institute. It wasn't born from the womb of a loving mother. It was grown within the cold confines of a laboratory. Flesh is flesh. Machine is machine. The two were never meant to intertwine. By attempting to play God, the Institute has taken the sanctity of human life and corrupted it beyond measure.
After all I've done for the Brotherhood, all the blood I've spilled in our name, how can you say that about
You're the physical embodiment of what we hate most. Technology that's gone too far. Look around you, Dance. Look at the scorched earth and the bones that litter the wasteland. Millions, perhaps even billions, died because science outpaced man's restraint. They called it a new frontier and pushing the envelope, completely disregarding the repercussions. Can't you see the same thing is happening again? You're a single bomb in an arsenal of thousands, preparing to lay waste to what's left of mankind.
Dance wants to save mankind, not destroy it.
You're as delusional as you are insubordinate. How can you trust the word of a machine that thinks it's alive? A machine that's had its mind erased, its thoughts programmed, its very soul manufactured. Those ethics that it's striving to champion aren't even its own. They were artificially inserted in an attempt to have it blend into society.
It's true. I was built within the confines of a laboratory, and some of my memories aren't my own. But when I saw my brothers dying at my feet, I felt sorrow. When I defeated an enemy of the Brotherhood, I felt pride. And when I heard your speech about saving the Commonwealth, I felt hope. Don't you understand? I thought I was human, Arthur. From the moment I was taken in by the Brotherhood, I've done absolutely nothing to betray your trust, and I never will.
It's too late for that now. The Institute has foolishly chosen to grant you life. You simply should not exist. I don't intend to debate this any longer. My orders stand.
It's all right. We did our best. You convinced me that I was wrong to be ashamed of my true identity, and I thank you for it. Whatever you decide, know that I'm going to my grave with no anger and no regrets.
Touching. Either you execute Dance, or I will, Knight. The choice is yours.
After all the sacrifices I've made and all the battles I've fought for the Brotherhood, you need to listen to me. You owe me that much.
Very well. I'm listening.
If Dance dies, then you lose me as well. I can't stay in good conscience if his life means that little to you.
Unbelievable. You'd be willing to sacrifice your career for the sake of a machine? So, it appears we've arrived at an impasse. Allowing Dance to live undermines everything the Brotherhood stands for. Yet you insist that he remains alive, which leaves me with only a single alternative. Dance, as far as I'm concerned, you're dead. You were pursued and slain by this Brotherhood Knight, and your remains were incinerated. From this day forward, you are forbidden to set foot on the Pridwin, or speak to anyone from the Brotherhood of Steel. Should you choose to ignore me, know you'll be fired upon immediately. Do we understand each other?
I do. Thank you for believing in me, Arthur.
Don't mistake my mercy for acceptance. The only reason you're still alive is because of him. I'm returning to the Pridwin, Knight. Take some time. Say your goodbyes. and then I expect to see you there. We still have the Institute to deal with.
The moment is kinda undercut by Maxon's goofy-ass run off the camera at the end there. Like, what the fuck was that, bro? But overall, this is easily one of the best scenes in the game. Nick Valentine's companion quest also presents a fascinating story of a synthetic man struggling to find his identity and purpose in the world. Nick discovers that he was created by the Institute and implanted with the memories of a pre-war detective also named Nick Valentine. These memories began to haunt Nick as he grapples with the struggles the original Nick faced, particularly the death of his lover at the hands of a mob boss named Eddie Winter. Coincidentally, Eddie Winter is still alive, as he was one of the first ghouls, who are basically immortal zombies at this point in Fallout lore. We could explore the absurdities of Fallout ghoul lore, but I think that's best suited for another video. To finally confront Eddie Winter, you and Nick must locate 10 holotapes that contain the password to a secret bunker where Winter is hiding. Once you bust into his hideout, Nick can exact his revenge, which leaves him wondering a bit of what to do next, given that he's not the real Nick Valentine.
Are you doing all right?
I don't know. It's a lot to take in. Winter was it. The only reminder left of the original Nick Valentine. The last bit of his business settled. I'm not sure how I feel.
Don't you see, Nick? You're finally free. There is no other Nick anymore. Just you.
I wish it was that easy. But it's not. Because I was Nick Valentine. I had his memories, his fears, all that poor bastard's hope. I remember getting the call to head to some lab in Cambridge to get that neurotrans whatever. And the next thing I know, I'm in a trash heap. My family, my home, my entire life gone. Then I discover all those things that they weren't even mine. Everything I ever was belonged to Nick. I'd hoped with Winter gone, the last hint of that old world snuffed out, I could finally be free. But being out here with you, what I finally realized after all this time was that taking down Winter, it wasn't about Nick or Jenny or even you or me. It was about justice, about doing what's right. And that act of goodness, that's ours. All the good we've done, that's ours, and ours alone. And even if that's the only thing in this world that I can ever claim as mine, not Nick's, not the Institute's, but mine, then I can die happy.
To me, these stories really show that Fallout 4 has some moments where there is great writing. Yes, the main story is a total clusterfuck, but it doesn't mean that all the writing in this game is bad. Fallout 4 takes a lot of heat for its lackluster world building. One example I frequently see brought up in critiques is the lack of depth with the Commonwealth's raider gangs compared to previous entries in the series. In games like Fallout 1 and New Vegas, the player could directly interact with many different factions and gangs, and these groups would not necessarily be hostile to you right off the bat. But in Fallout 4, all we see are nameless raiders who are all automatically hostile and have no discernible motivations or backstory.
Are you sure about that?
While I do agree with the overarching point about faction depth in Fallout 4, it is a surface level take. Upon closer inspection, there is more than meets the eye with the raider gangs in Fallout 4. By diving into terminal entries and other environmental storytelling, we can uncover some pretty interesting things about these raider gangs. Let's start with the raiders who occupy the Corvega plant in Lexington. We initially encounter these guys besieging Preston's group in Concord, and will eventually wipe them all out as part of the First Step quest in the Minuteman questline. At first glance, these raiders just seem like cannon fodder enemies who were targeting Preston's group for the purposes of looting vulnerable travelers. But the actual motivation behind this attack was much deeper than that. When we arrive in the Corvega plant, our objective is to eliminate the raider leader Jared, and by inspecting his terminal, we'll discover that he was deliberately stalking and targeting Preston's group because of the presence of Mama Murphy. Gristle says there's a caravan headed this way. Some joker in a cowboy hat with a laser musket, 3 civilians, and one frail old woman dressed like a fortune teller. It's her. I know it's her. I sent Gristle to collect her. Other entries in Jared's terminal detail how Mama Murphy knew Jared when he was a child, that she predicted he would get kidnapped by a group of raiders and become a monster, a prediction that came true. He saw the incredible power that Mama Murphy wielded with the sight and attempted to harness this power on his own by taking copious amounts of drugs, just like Mama Murphy did. But when his narcotic experimentation failed to grant him the power of clairvoyance, he decided that he would need to capture Mama Murphy and figure out the source of her abilities. So when Preston's group stumbled into the region with Mama Murphy in tow, he sent out his goons to besiege the last stragglers of the Minutemen with the goal of collecting Mama Murphy. Let's talk about some of the other Raider gang leaders of the Commonwealth. Jared is not the only Raider leader whose terminal tells a sinister story. We can also learn about the power struggles between various gangs, like Tower Tom's crew at the Beantown Brewery and Red Tourette's group at the Federal Ration Stockpile. With supplies dwindling and his crew growing restless, Tower Tom decided to mount an attack on the Raider gang at the Federal Ration Stockpile. During the assault, he kidnapped Red's sister Lily and held her as ransom for more supplies, which she initially delivered. But at some point, Lily managed to break free of her shackles, causing Tom to panic and shoot her dead. In the aftermath, he began forging letters from Lily to her sister Red to conceal the fact that Lily was dead and ensure that Red would continue sending him a steady stream of supplies from this federal stockpile. By inspecting Red's terminal entries at that site, we can uncover her side of the story and her sneaking suspicions about the fate of her sister. Got another letter from Lil, but something's off. She calls me Red. I hate that name and she knows it. I think something's happened. Tom's recruiting hard now that he's got our provisions. I'm gonna send some of my boys to sign up, see if he can't figure out what's going on. The follow-up entry declares, the man I sent to Beantown Brewery said there was no sign of Lil anywhere in the place. Tom must have moved her somewhere. I've sent out a crew to start looking for her. Hang in there, Lil. We're coming. Many Raider leaders' terminal entries will also get updated based on the death of other named Raiders at the hand of the sole survivor. So player choice actually has an impact on what entries we'll discover. For instance, if we happen to kill Tower Tom, which we are likely to do during Travis's side quest Confidence Man, then Red's terminal will have an entry on his death. Someone cut down Tom and his boys, but there's still no sign of Lily. Thank God she got moved before it happened. We'll find you, sis, wherever you are. The cope levels are over 9,000 with this chick. Your sister's dead, homegirl. You gotta accept that. I do wish that these Raider gangs would have been explored in more depth, perhaps through quests or direct dialogue with members of these groups, but to say there is zero storytelling or thought put into the Raider gangs in Fallout 4 is simply untrue. The Gunners are another faction that at first glance seem like a one-dimensional group of cannon fodder enemies, but in reality there is some deeper lore we can explore, particularly with the group occupying Quincy Ruins. Much like the Raiders at Corvega, this group of Gunners has a connection with Preston Garvey's Minutemen. When we first meet Preston, he'll mention his group ventured north from Quincy, where the bulk of the Minutemen force was wiped out in a Gunner attack. The Minutemen were betrayed to the Gunners by a man named Clint, who we can fight and defeat in the Quincy Ruins. Two of Preston's compatriots, June and Marcy Long, will mention that their son was killed in the attack on Quincy. And if you visit the Longs' former home in Quincy, you can find Kyle's room with blood splatters on the floor, evidence of where he tragically met his end at the hands of the Gunners. If you want to explore the full story of the Quincy Massacre and the Gunners' involvement in it, I highly recommend this video by Oxhorn. Now, I do think it's a bummer that we can't yap with any of these guys like we could with Caesar or Papa Khan in New Vegas, but just because Bethesda took a different approach to storytelling with these factions doesn't mean there are no stories to discover.
Also, you must be discreet. Do nothing to draw attention to yourself or raise suspicion.
Maybe I should get a secret decoder ring, too.
A secret decoder ring? What a fascinating suggestion.
The dialogue system is everyone's favorite part of Fallout 4. We've got a massive range of conversation options such as yes, no, ask a question, and be a sarcastic jerk. Fallout 4's dialogue wheel has it all. There has been much said about Fallout 4's cursed dialogue wheel over the years, and to be honest, it's pretty shit. Dialogue wheels in RPGs are not inherently deficient. When implemented properly, they can provide a seamless way for the player to quickly select dialogue options that are true to the way they want to play and keep conversations flowing quickly. Some examples of good dialogue wheels are the original Mass Effect trilogy and Deus Ex Human Revolution, which, side note, has the best dialogue wheel I've seen in a game like this.
I never asked for this.
One of the deficiencies of the dialogue wheel is that because we're presented with a shorthand of what our character is going to say, sometimes we can get caught off guard if the tone of what our hero actually says doesn't quite match the shorthand.
The guy's a scumbag. He should have been cut loose a long time ago.
But in Deus Ex Human Revolution, when you hover over the dialogue choice, you can see the full text of what Adam Jensen is going to say. So it's the best of both worlds. We get the shorthand so we can quickly make dialogue choices, but we also have access to the full voice lines so we can check exactly what he'll say before he says it. But wait a minute, this isn't a video about Deus Ex Human Revolution. We're talking about Fallout 4, and Fallout 4's dialogue system sucks. But the problem with the dialogue wheel isn't that it's a dialogue wheel. The problem is that the writing in this game often lacks substance. We can see this on full display in our dialogue with companions. Outside of specific scripted moments that trigger when we reach a certain amount of brownie points with our companions, we can't really have any meaningful conversations with these characters.
Anything you want to talk about?
I'm a lucky man, having you by my side.
Your thoughts?
I've worn out a lot of shoe leather since I joined the Minutemen.
What are you thinking about?
Where to next?
How do you feel about us?
I'm not sure if Minutemen regulations cover our situation.
The dialogue wheel didn't have to be so formulaic with its 4 dialogue options. The devs could have written more varied and interesting lines for the sole survivor, but ultimately chose not to, either through lack of care, or more likely because of a skill issue.
Doctor, it's time for you to reverse death itself.
What?
I wouldn't have put it quite that way, but...
That being said, sarcasm is a supremely fun way of playing this game, and is reminiscent of the purple dialogue options I loved from Dragon Age 2, another cursed RPG that people love to dog on.
I've never spoken about what happened to anyone.
Too much wine will make anyone chatty.
Let's just say you've earned my respect.
A lot of players were also critical of Bethesda's decision to hire voice actors for the protagonists.
Could you say that like Dr. Frankenstein?
Ego, fetch me the brain.
No, I will not.
Every previous Fallout game had a silent main character. Personally, I don't mind the voiced protagonist because I find conversations with silent characters to be kind of awkward and clunky. The conversations feel more, well, conversational if everyone is voice acted. Sure, the overall writing quality and dialogue options could have definitely been punched up, and sure, I believe that New Vegas handled player dialogue better, but at the end of the day, Fallout 4's dialogue design doesn't impede my enjoyment of the game.
The great Clockwork Dick is stumped?
It's Synth Detective, jackass.
The Fallout games have always had companion characters that can tag along with the main protagonist, but their implementation has evolved over time. In the first 3 Fallout games, your companions were basically just hired guns with very minimal backstory or conversation options. They could also permanently die in combat, and in many cases, they weren't really intended to survive the whole playthrough. My main memory of Ian from Fallout 1 is that he was always shooting me in combat, and he actually soft-locked my first playthrough by blocking me inside a room in a vault I was exploring. New Vegas was the first game in the series to really dive deep into our companion characters, providing full lore and backstories that we could discover. Some companions like Boone and Veronica even had their own personal quests. So basically, Obsidian followed the BioWare blueprint for companions. Fallout 4 took that formula one step further, adding a wider array of companions to recruit, and even including romance arcs for some of them as well.
What do you need, babe?
They also added a companion approval system similar to the Dragon Age games. Companions' approval rating for the sole survivor fluctuates based on actions taken by your character in quests or gameplay. Raising companion approval unlocks new conversations with them, and in some cases will unlock or progress their companion quests. On the other hand, if your companion's approval drops too much, they can reach the point where they refuse to travel with you any further. Though to be fair, you pretty much have to go out of your way to get that outcome.
All of this just works. I'm not kidding.
My fingers hurt. Oh yeah? Well, now your back's gonna hurt, cause you just pulled landscaping duty. Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Mama Murphy. I have a love-hate relationship with Fallout 4's settlement building system. On some playthroughs, I love collecting every scrap of junk I can find in the Commonwealth, hauling it all back to my workshop, and building up a nice little community in Sanctuary Hills. Then I love destroying those settlements one by one and replacing them with raider outposts in the Nuka World DLC. In other playthroughs, I'll completely ignore the settlement system and basically just use the workshop as a storage dump for all my gear. The settlement system itself is just fine, but just like Adam Jensen, a lot of Fallout fans were like, I never asked for this. Part of my reluctance to engage with the settlement system stems from the god-awful Radiant quest system, which auto-generates a bunch of boring-ass fetch and kill quests in an infinite loop of low-tier content. Preston Garvey, the soy boy loser who appoints you General of the Minutemen, became a poster child for these quests. Almost every time you approach Preston, he hits you with that infamous line, "Another settlement needs your help," before handing out yet another repetitive Radiant quest. He even sometimes interrupts his own dialogue lines for unrelated quests to hand you another side quest. Because this is a buggy Bethesda game after all, so of course, Preston is scuffed and janky as
My daughter is missing.
Let's talk money. Investigations for the missing aren't cheap.
Of course. How does 350 cap sound?
If she went far, that means travel expenses.
We could make it 400.
Don't hold out on me. You want to find your daughter, right?
500 caps. That's all we have.
In addition to the base game, Fallout 4 also had a plethora of expansion content and additional free updates over the years. The meatiest expansions were Automatron, Nuka World, and the creme de la creme, Far Harbor. Automatron was a relatively short expansion, adding in a new robot building mechanic, as well as a new storyline involving the Mechanist, who was a returning character from Fallout 3. Overall, it's a fun little distraction and worth playing if you love the base game, but far from a can't-miss experience. The main star of Fallout 4's DLC is Far Harbor, which was released in May 2016. It added a whole new regional map to explore, based loosely on coastal Maine. And more importantly, it addressed some of the narrative and choice criticisms from the base game. The DLC starts as a missing persons investigation and expands into a whole conspiracy involving a synth colony and two other factions on the brink of war. The whole island has been covered with a radioactive fog, leading to more aggressive creatures claiming more territory. The citizens of Far Harbor blame the cultists from the Children of Adam, while the synth colony leader Dima tries to manipulate the situation to maintain peace. While Dima seems like a good guy on the surface, he's actually resorted to underhanded tactics, including killing people and replacing them with synths, much like the main antagonist from the base game, The Institute. The sole survivor has a bunch of different options for how to resolve the impending catastrophe on the island, up to and including wiping out any of the various factions, which makes Far Harbor a role-playing dream. My personal favorite ending is convincing Dima to turn himself over to the citizens of Far Harbor for his role in the death of Captain Avery. Far Harbor will execute Dima for his crimes, finally bringing justice to his atrocious actions. But this death will not be enough for Alan, and he will clamor for blood, or I guess synth fuel, potentially leading to the complete destruction of the Acadia colony.
You call murdering one of ours peace? I say we end this bastard, and then burn his whole goddamn Acadia to the ground!
Alan, enough. Demo will pay for his crime, but not Acadia. This path you want leads to murder. Cold-blooded murder.
We leave them be. We'll never know if they're killing and replacing us one by one. No. We kill every last one of them just to be sure. Who's with me?
Every time you open your damn mouth, Alan, the whole town suffers. Shut up.
What? I oughta...
I've been wanting to say that since we first met that guy.
Don't listen to the mainlander. My brother knows what we've got to do.
I'm with you, Alan.
Alan's never been afraid to do what needs doing.
Everyone said their piece. It's clear what we have to do. Out of the way, Captain.
Alan, no!
Those murdering sins! I've been telling you for years we gotta do something. Time's up. We're doing it now. Grab a gun from my shop if you ain't got one. We're taking care of Acadia. Starting with that synth bastard.
This ain't nothing.
Like this.
However, if you help the citizens of Far Harbor with their problems by completing their side quests, then you'll be able to save Acadia from being destroyed. I just love all the ways that we can influence the story in Far Harbor. Nick and Dima also have a lot of interesting banter and dialogue, considering they were both first-generation synths created by the Institute. Nick is initially skeptical of Dima to the point of being borderline hostile.
Just who the hell are you, really? There's only one synth with that kind of face and a mind of his own. And I only see him when I look in a mirror.
Nick? It can't be you.
If I were your brother, I'd remember.
But over time, Nick will eventually reconsider his relationship with Dima, which the sole survivor can influence. This definitely makes the ending where Dima gets flatlined hit a lot differently, considering Nick's reaction.
So, Dima is dead. After all that talk about trying to accept him as family, we end up getting him killed anyway.
On the bright side, you get to continue your alas, I'm the only prototype synth routine.
You know, why don't you just shut the hell up for once? I swear you care more about sounding smart sometimes than you do about who has to listen to it. Let's just hit the road, all right? I don't think I can talk about this anymore.
Far Harbor has a lot of other endings and variations I could explore, but I'll save that for another time, perhaps in a future deep dive video on that particular DLC. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. On top of this, we get a lot of fun exploration, side quests, new weapons, and more enemy variety to enjoy. Released in August 2016, Nuka World was the final big expansion for Fallout 4. Much like Far Harbor, we also get a new map and story to explore as the sole survivor travels to an abandoned pre-war theme park that has now become a raider stronghold. And we get that all too common Bethesda trope of getting quickly promoted to become leader of all the raiders, regardless of our background. Interestingly, we also get the option to wipe out all the raider gangs on behalf of Preston, which is a cool RP option. But honestly, I rarely make this choice, as it also wipes out 90% of the DLC's content, and it removes the option of completely pissing off Preston, which is far too satisfying to miss.
You've crossed the line, General. There are some things I can't forgive. I thought I knew you. I trusted you. And then you joined up with the scum that prey on the Commonwealth.
That's enough out of you, Garvey.
I guess we understand each other then. Don't think that the Minutemen will stand by and let you bring even more misery to the Commonwealth. If that means shooting at you and your new friends, so be it. But that's in your hands. You can still turn back and try to actually make the Commonwealth a better place.
If you or any Minutemen get in my way, I won't hesitate to put you down.
Don't worry. I wasn't expecting anything else from you. For the Commonwealth's sake, I hope you change your mind and come back to being the general we hoped for. I'll follow your orders as a loyal Minuteman. But our friendship is over. I could never trust you like that again. You made your decision. Now live with it. Don't test my patience.
Nuka World is the far weaker expansion when compared to Far Harbor. It has some interesting moments, but from a gameplay standpoint, it's honestly kind of a slog, as the bulk of the DLC just involves clearing out bullet sponge enemies to liberate the park and doing the same Radiant Quest BS we had to do for the Minutemen. The exploration aspect of Nuka World also leaves a lot to be desired, as there are very few points of interest to discover outside of the main amusement park. For me, the best parts of the DLC were the side quests for the Hubologists and Sierra Petrovita, which are throwbacks to Fallout 2 and 3 respectively. Far Harbor is really the only can't-miss experience though, and to me, it's the DLC that perfectly caps off the experience of Fallout 4.
I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
In conclusion, Fallout 4 is much better than you think. While the game certainly has its share of problems when it comes to writing and role-playing, the core gameplay loop of Fallout 4 is so compelling that it keeps me coming back for more even after hundreds of hours. 10 years later, and probably even beyond, Fallout 4 continues to remain relevant in the RPG space, and I for one look forward to playing it for many years to come. So there you have it. We've done a deep dive and white knighted for Fallout 4. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more RPG videos and reviews. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.
Let me tell you, farming ain't easy.
You call this a farm? It's pathetic.
Yeah, I know. I think you best be moving on.